It's time for Wisdom 31.
My assignment today is Proverbs 23, verses 10 through 11. Do not remove the ancient landmark, nor enter the fields of the fatherless, for their Redeemer is mighty. He will plead their cause against you. There's something about the orphan, the fatherless in this world that moves the very heart of God. Those who seek to be blessed, the widow and the orphan, God pronounces as blessed. While here we receive a warning, a dire warning against doing things that harm them. He, the master, is drawn to the least of these. The first thing we read is not moving the ancient boundaries. What is this about? So in biblical times, there were markings that help people to know where their fields end and where other fields began. People would move boundary stones when plowing their fields so that they could steal land from their neighbors by doing so. Here this is equated with going into the fields of the orphan, says the wise sage Solomon, stealing from orphans for your own greed. God reserves some of his strongest language for those who would do such things. The heaviest curses were reserved for this kind of sin. So we are warned that the one who is the Redeemer for these orphans, he is strong. In this case, strong enough to be considered omnipotent. So I think only a fool would take on someone with omnipotence. The strong one, Jehovah himself, will take up the cause of the orphans and will plead their case against your greed and godlessness. The best wisdom from the Word of God is not to mess with orphans unless you either are going to bless them or face a fate that is surely and deadly. I think we have gotten in trouble with the ancestors because we have not respected the boundary stones. So how can we move boundary stones in our day? I want to suggest that there are many kinds of boundary stones in life, land and agricultural. I lived some years ago on an acre of land on a 15-room split level, and the boundaries were demarcations of apple trees and shrubberies on the side. And if you crossed over those apple trees or those shrubberies, you were considered trespassing violation. You have to be careful that you don't allow people to violate, cross over, trespass in your life. Put down your boundary stones. Put the demarcations in the sand so they'll know where to stop and how far to go. There are morals and theological matters. Pity the man or men who decide they want to move these morally and theologically stated and spaced stones from where God himself has set those markers. This is not really a new sin because men have been doing it for years. They also have been paying a horrible price for it as well. My suggestion is leave the stones alone. Back in 1973, we, as a nation, decided to move an ancient boundary marker and declared open season on the unborn. As you recall, that was Roe versus Wade. In 1967, we decided to move the boundary marker concerning prayer and Bible reading in our schools. The results have been disastrous. In 2015, the Supreme Court legalized same-sex marriage, and all 50 states' governments decided to remove the marker concerning immorality, sexuality, and marriage. It is truly unwise to move the boundaries, as unwise as messing with orphans. Yet men continue to do so their own destruction and their own demise have affected the nation. So just as a fool is the only one who would take on an omnipotent God in messing with orphans, also it is only a fool who decides to stand against God himself by moving the moral boundaries that God himself has set. We've done it, but then again, we continue to pay for it every day. The God of those boundaries is truly strong, and for every boundary we seek to push backward, there will be a price to pay. The question is, are you willing to pay that price? Blessings to you.